A pleasant day, everyone. We are the Clever Wizards, which says literature reading fosters creativity, and we will delve into the realm of literature. Hello mga naiga and hello readers. My name is Nerisan M, and I'll be the summarizer of our group in a vocabulary enricher or the word wizard to foster your daily learnings.
Hi dear readers, my name is the clever Melanie Seda, and I'll be the question or the discussion delegator in our group and a literary luminary that illuminates your brains.
Hi dear readers, my name is the clever Olivette Veloso, and I'll be your ingenious illustrator that brings your imagination to reality.
Hello everyone! We're back again with our delving session. We will present to you the Clever Wizards, the book entitled Bridge to TERABITHIA by Catherine Patterson. So she dedicated this book to her son David Lord Patterson, but after he read it, he asked her to put Lisa's name in this page as well, and so she does. So David Patterson and Lisa Hill Van Zandt. Isn't it cute? Let's now proceed to the summary of the book Bridge to TERABITHIA. So by the way, I'm the clever Nerisan M saluting you all. Jess Arons is an 11-year-old boy who lives in a rural area of the South and enjoys running. He fantasizes about being the fastest boy in 5th grade when school begins in the fall, believing that this will give him a chance to shine among his 5 sisters and possibly win the attention of his preoccupied father. So Jess is very self-conscious about his appearance. He enjoys painting and drawing, but he is well aware that doing so makes him a sissy in the eyes of the majority of the world, particularly his father. Furthermore, his family is so stretched by poverty that he has a few opportunities to truly explore his own identity during this critical period. So he has thus built up the importance of winning in his mind, believing that at least here is something he is good at that will not earn him the favorable label of sissy or girl in the eyes of his father or schoolmates, and will allow him to shine in his own right. He practices every morning, always fantasizing about his upcoming victory. When recess races begin, a new girl, Leslie Burke, who recently moved next door to Jess, boldly crosses to the boys' side of the playground and beats everyone. Despite a shaky start, Jess and Leslie become fast friends. They create TERABITHIA, a secret fantasy land in the woods across the creek where they can play all the time. So they forget about the rest of the world, like the kids at school or just less than ideal family. So the time they spend in TERABITHIA, in fact, appears to fortify them for the trials of every life. It is there that they plot a plan of retaliation against the school bully after she steals Maybell's Twinkies, and it is there that they discuss Jess' feelings of insecurity as Leslie begins to draw closer to her father. Leslie also introduces Jess to the world of imagination and creativity, telling him stories from literary classics such as Moby Dick and Hamlet. So all of this strengthens Jess' artistic talent and ability, as Leslie encourages him and provides him with great subject matter through the stories she tells. But they spend most of their time inventing wonderful games, such as defeating intruders on TERABITHIAN territory, praying to the spirits of the grove to end a long spell of rain, and a variety of other fantasies. However, Jess and Leslie's friendship, which, while centered in TERABITHIA, is not limited to TERABITHIA. They see each other at school, where they get a lot of teasing for their cross-gender friendship. But that kind of teasing has lost its power to hurt Jess, and Leslie has never been bothered with what others think. So they celebrate holidays together at home, such as Christmas. So when Jess gives happy and she gives him an expensive art set to help him develop his artistic talent. And Easter, when Leslie attends church for the first time with Jess. The beauty of Fry's story moves Leslie. Cowed by negative and unforgiving religious training, Jess and his little sister Mabel believe that non-believers like Leslie are doomed to hell and find the entire experience disturbing. Despite this, Jess and Leslie remain the best of friends, and Jess finds a new sense of purpose in his life through Leslie's company. Miss Edmonds, Jess' high school music teacher, invites him to spend the day with her touring art galleries in Washington. So this trip broadens his mind and makes him feel special, which he had previously only felt in Leslie's company. Jess is a perfect day, but when he gets home, he learns that Leslie drowned that morning while attempting to swim in TERABITHIA on the rope they used for that purpose. Jess is devastated and goes through the stages of grief, denial, anger, fear, and sorrow, all of which are excruciatingly painful to experience and indeed to write about. So he initially does not see how he will proceed. Leslie has elevated him to new heights as TERABITHIA's king, and now he fears that without her, he will revert to the old Jess, plagued by fear and insecurity. However, he eventually realizes that he can only keep Leslie's memory alive, as well as his own newfound sense of self, by continuing the TERABITHIA fantasy. So he brings his little sister Mabel there and crowns her as a queen, ensuring that a piece of Leslie lives on. That's all for the summary of our discussion. Now that we have inculcated in our brains how the story is going, let's now have the quintessential questionnaire to illuminate your minds.
Hi everyone, again, I'm the clever Melanie Seda, the questioner or discussion director. I have prepared 5 questions to the story, which is the bridge to TERABITHIA, and I'll be revealing to the answers to eliminate your brains to the story we have read. So let's first read the 5 questions and reveal the answers after this. The first question, what differentiates Leslie from the other students? Second question, who are the parents of Leslie? Third question, what differentiates Jess' home life from Leslie? Fourth question, what differentiates Leslie from Jess? And the fifth and last question, who does Jess blame for Leslie's death? So let's tackle first the first question. What differentiates Leslie from the other students? So, Leslie is dressed somewhat differently from the other students on the first day of school. So, the other children are dressed in their best clothes, while Leslie is only wearing shorts, a blouse, and shoes. Second question, who are the parents of Leslie? So, Leslie's parents are Belle and Judy. So they both write and they both define as hippies in a similar way to Miss Edmonds. So third question, what differentiates Jess' home life from Leslie? So there are distinctions between them. Jess' parents don't seem to care much about him because he comes from a big family with 4 sisters. Leslie, on the other hand, is only child, and her parents adore and are always there for her. So fourth question, what differentiates Leslie from Jess? So Leslie has a broad knowledge of literature and is creative, brave, and self-assured, while Jess is logical, sympathetic, kind, and intelligent, though he is not particularly well educated. So last question, who does Jess blame for Leslie's death? So Jess blames himself. He feels guilty to the extent that he perceives the dark master pursuing him in TERABITHIA. He even breaks down in the middle of the forest, weeping for his lost companion. So, Jess believes that it's his fault that Leslie died because he did not invite her along on the day trip with Mrs. Edmonds. So, hope your illuminated brains has filled up with my clever questions. Let me call on my co-wizard to discuss to you the illustration she made with the literature.
Good day, everyone. I'm your ingenious illustrator of the day. What do you think is my illustration about? Do you have any idea? Okay, Nerisan, you're raising your hand. Yes, that's it, Nerisan. So in this illustration, as can you see, there's a boy which named Jess and a girl named is Leslie. They are friends, and also there's a tree, rope, and bridge. The life of Jess changes when he befriends Leslie, the class outsider. They create an imaginary world called TERABITHIA, which is inhabited by all manner of magical creatures. Only Jess and Leslie goes there and they run the kingdom. They all respect each other, aren't like the real world. They keep TERABITHIA as their secret. And TERABITHIA, Jess and Leslie are royalty as they are the king and queen of TERABITHIA. TERABITHIA symbolizes the connection between real life and the imaginary. When Jess and Leslie become friends, they are able to help each other to face the problems at school and home. While they are in TERABITHIA, they are also able to help each other escape reality. So this is my illustration all about. Let me call on my co-wizard, the literary luminary.
I'm back, your literary luminary, Melanie Seda. By now, let's examine the passages I choose from the story. First passage was found on chapter 10, so let's read it. I know Leslie, I know she's not going to bite my head off or make fun of me if I say I don't want to go over again till the creek's down. All I gotta do is say, Leslie, I don't want to go over there today. Just like that, easy as pie. Leslie, I don't want to go over there today. How come? How come? Because. So, do you feel afraid, or do you harbor any fears? We all have fears, and we may even feel them in our present or future circumstances. So this passage of chapter 10 explains Jess' reluctance to swing across the creek to TERABITHIA during a week of heavy rain. The stream is overflowing its banks, and he is terrified to swing across it since he has always been fearful of the water and of drowning, even as he tries to convince himself that it is not that bad of a thing and that Leslie won't judge him the way he judges himself. Jess hates himself for having this fear. In the aforementioned passage, he admits that his fears to inform Leslie about his anxieties is utterly exaggerated and that Leslie will comprehend. He is unable to talk though, since he feels so humiliated of his fear. He views fear as wholly dishonorable and betrayal of his alter ego, and he is still too unaware of the fact that everyone experiences worries and that these fears are common. He is tormented by this disgust with himself over his anxieties. He is unable to make peace with his fears until the very end. Is it preferable to avoid your fears or to face them? So for me, I would rather face it because facing feared circumstances, locations, or things is a crucial step in overcoming anxiety. Wanting to stay away from the things you fear is common, but you can't learn that the things you fear are not as harmful as you believe they are if you avoid them. So, you should face and expose yourself because exposing gives you a natural high and a sense of empowerment. So let's proceed to the second passage and was found on chapter 12. He screamed something without words and flung the papers and paints into the dirty brown water. He watched them all disappear. Gradually, his breath quieted and his heart slowed from its wild peace. The ground was still muddy from the rains, but he sat down anyway. There was nowhere to go, nowhere ever again. He put his head down on one knee. That was a damn fool thing to do. His father down on the dirt beside him. I don't care, I don't care. He was crying now, crying so hard he could barely breathe. His father pulled Jess over on his lap as if he were Joy's aunt. There, he said, patting his head. Shh, shh. Have you ever lost someone you truly love? What does it feel like? How have you handled it? So this passage of the book is found in chapter 12, the day after Leslie passed away, and Jess is just starting to feel his loss and rage. In addition to losing a memento of Leslie, he also loses a piece of himself by throwing away the paint set, which served as a reminder of his creative ability and purpose. With Leslie, he feels as though he has lost the best part of himself. On the other side, his father corrects all of the paternal deficiencies that afflict him. When it comes to his son, Mr. Aarons has always been attached and easy, undemonstrative, and expectant. He never shared Jess' interest in the arts. He said that he has come to embrace that aspect of Jess and that Jess' attempt to suppress it is useless and needless. By informing Jess that tossing away the art set was a damn fool thing to do, Jess' father probably would have been happy if he had voluntarily disposed of his paint set earlier. He now seemed to understand that it is just a character of Jess that cannot and should not be denied, and he makes up for all the years he kept his distance from Jess, thinking that a young man did not require cuddling and appeasing, as he holds him in his arms, like if he were Joy's aunt. Jess' father is revealed to be an incredible person during this tough phase. And the two of them unexpectedly develop a strong bond that helps in Jess' recovery. So, where do you go or what you do if you are hurt or down? Do you have someone who can talk to? Yes, Nerisan? Okay, thank you for sharing, Nerisan. So every time when you have problem, it's okay to do things that reduce the heavy feelings you feel as long if it's not bad. And talking to someone is a good thing since it may help you to find a solution to the problem you are facing. So let's proceed to the last passage that was found in chapter 4. He believed her because here in the shadowy light of the stronghold, everything seemed possible. Between the two of them, they owned the world and no enemy. Gary Fulcher won the Claymore, Janice Avery, Jess' own fears and insufficiencies, nor any of the foes whom Leslie imagine attacking TERABITHIA could ever really defeat them. So, this passage appears in chapter 4, the day they initially had the idea for the cave, right after they had finished constructing their castle stronghold in TERABITHIA. It expresses the sense of belonging that Jess has in this newly discovered realm, where he and Leslie are the undisputed, unstoppable, and unbreakable rulers. He views it as the perfect escape from the harsh realities of life, including his own worries and self-doubts, as well as external factors like school foods. It provides a glimmer of optimism that he desperately needs as he attempts to smoothly shift from infancy to maturity while also winning over everyone. So that's all my discussion. So let me call on my co-wizard, our vocabulary enricher.
I'm back again, your clever Nerisan M to foster your vocabulary learning. Let's all read the 5 unfamiliar words I've gathered from the book. Number 1, conspicuous. The second, dumbfounded. The third, beseech. And the fourth, miniature. And lastly, mourning. So let's talk about number 1. The number 1 unfamiliar word, which is conspicuous, which was placed in chapter 3, the fastest kid in the 5th grade, page 14. So the line goes like this. The 5th grade boys, bursting with new importance, ordered the 4th graders this way and that, while the smaller boys tried to include themselves without being conspicuous. So, what is conspicuous really is? Let's try to find out. So, according to vocabulary.com, keep your eye on the adjective conspicuous for something that stands out so much you notice it right away, like that zit in the center of your friend's forehead. Conspicuous comes from the adjectival form of the Latin verb conspicere, meaning to look up. Conspicuous can mean either very obvious to the eye, like something that is conspicuous from a distance, or attracting attention, like conspicuous consumption. If we're doing something wrong, it's wise not to be conspicuous about it. The second unfamiliar word is dumbfounded, which was placed in the book, chapter 7, The Golden Room, page 42. So the line was, Leslie, I swear I'd go in there if I could. I really thought you would too. You ain't scared of her, are you, Leslie? He didn't mean it in a daring way. He was just dumbfounded by the idea of Leslie being scared. So, how do we define dumbfounded? Do you have an idea? Okay, let's define it. So, according to the dictionary, when you're dumbfounded, you're amazed. Being dumbfounded is an extreme form of being surprised or caught off guard. So being dumbfounded is not something that happens every day. This is a word that means something similar to astonished and gobsmacked. Only things that are extraordinary can dumbfound you. This word plays an older meaning of dumb, that means unable to speak. When you are dumbfounded, you're so astounded and shocked that you can't even speak. Like seeing your crush, you're dumbfounded about it. His handsomeness. Say this word for occasions that are truly unusual and amazing. Now, let's have the number 3 unfamiliar word, which is beseech. And it was placed in the book, chapter 9, The Evil Spell, page 54. So the line was, we are come on behalf of our beloved kingdom, which lies even now under the spell of some evil unknown force. Give us, we beseech thee, wisdom to discern this evil and power to overcome it. She nudged Jess with her elbow. So beseech word can be defined as if begging for something, but you want to sound formal and a little old-fashioned. Say, I beseech you. It really captures how urgent and desperate you are. Yet perhaps takes a shred of your dignity. So beseech sounds a little like seek, which is appropriate. To beseech is to seek for something or for permission. It is commonly used when people have an urgent request of clergy or of a formal elder. So it definitely adds dramatic undertones to whatever you're talking about. When your very life is on the line, it's your last hope, and you have now nowhere else to turn. It's time to start beseeching. The number 4 unfamiliar word is miniature, which was placed in chapter 10, The Perfect Day, page 58 in the book. So the line goes like this. There they came upon a display case holding a miniature scene of Indians disguised in buffalo skins carrying a herd of buffalo and stampeding over a cliff to the death with more Indians waiting below to butcher and skin them. So let us now define what miniature really is. So it means the things that are miniature are teeny tiny versions of something else. Think miniature poodle unless you don't like small dogs. Then think miniature footballs, which is cute. So when something is a miniature, it is like it has been shrunk down in size. It's not just small, it's a small replica of something else. So if you made a dollhouse that was a scale representation of your own house, it would be a miniature of your home. It would also be a little weird. So the last unfamiliar word that we'll be discussing is mourning, which was placed in chapter 13, Building the Bridge, page 71. So the line was like this. So the line in the book was like this. When my husband died, just could hardly imagine Mrs. Mears ever having had a husband. People kept telling me not to cry, kept trying to make me forget. Mrs. Mears loving mourning. How could you picture it? But I didn't want to forget. She took her handkerchief from her sleeve and blew her nose. Excuse me, she said. So the last unfamiliar word that we'll be defining is mourning, like losing someone. So mourning is a time of sadness because of a loss. When you're in mourning after a loved one dies, it is good to lean on your friends who understand why you are so sad. So mourning is an expression of grief or a time of grieving that follows a loved one's death or other serious loss. Depression, confusion, even losing interest in friends and social activities all can occur when someone is in mourning. An old-fashioned meaning of mourning is specifically the black clothing people. Traditionally, we are following a death. So let's not confuse mourning with mourning, the early part of the day, okay? We have hammered out the peak of our book literature discussion, and I am hoping you have learned something deep and astonishing. See you soon!